So it's been a while since I last talked about Bonelab, but since then, the game has blown up in the VR community, even if it was a bit divisive when it first launched. And whether you're a fan of the game or not, it's no denying that while it was a step up in design from its predecessor, it lacked in a lot of other places in the game, with the developer Stress Level Zero almost relying on its modding community to pretty much flesh out the rest of the content that the game unfortunately lacked. And while I had my fun with it back when I first talked about this game, I haven't had a chance to dive back in to see how Bonelab has shaped up since release. Since then, there's actually been quite a few official updates, adding in a lot of new content, as well as a ton of new custom stuff from the community that's pushed the Marrow engine beyond its current limitations, including a functional multiplayer mod. I wanted to dive back into the void and see if Bonelab still holds up half a year later. Since the release of the game, Stress Level Zero has continued developing new content and even made some improvements on some of the game's mechanics for both the PC and Quest versions. The first thing I want to talk about is the gacha capsules. When I first played Bonelab, admittedly, I did not know how to open these little things, because in the original Boneworks, of course, you had to collect these and throw them into a recycling area. So seeing them add instructions for these was a nice little inclusion for new players, even though I pretty much figured it out in the original. There are also some new settings to improve performance and control for your character, as well as some UI improvements as well, like with the spawn gun. Since this game is going for more of a sandbox approach, the spawn gun is pretty much going to be essential to most game modes that you play on this. And the original spawn gun menu was terrible to navigate through. After these updates though, it's actually a lot better now with categories, which makes finding things a lot easier, instead of flipping through hundreds of pages just to find the mod that you want. Now there's categories for different weapons, vehicles, NPCs, and so forth. And you can even search by mod author as well, which is a nice touch. But I think the biggest inclusion from these different updates that SLZ has released are the updated functionality to the key cards that were found in the campaign. In the original release, these key cards could be found in many of the official maps, including the campaign levels and the extra levels that were included as well. These key cards didn't really serve much of a purpose originally, leaving a lot of players guessing as to what they could be used for in future updates. Now these keycards actually do something and can be used to open up a ton of secret dev rooms found on each level found in Bonelab. These dev rooms are great because they help flesh out a bit of the lore that the game lacked originally. It gives you an idea as well as to what may be coming with the sequel that Stress Level Zero is working on for this game as well.
Greetings! Moon-based construction. The hypothesis of using a low-gravity chamber as a positive possible cryptid trap.
While some of these rooms are nothing more than places to find extra capsules to unlock more stuff, and maybe you'll find some leftover pocket lint from those who came before, it's nice that Stress Level Zero is including more hints as to what's coming within this franchise. Also, there is one room that definitely plays into the liminal space phenomenon that this game already leans heavily into.
What the fuck? No.
While these tidbits of story intrigue are great additions to the game, I do feel that these rooms should have always been available from the start, instead of being added in from future updates. I'm hoping future updates in the game will include additional levels or new gameplay mechanics to shake things up a little bit. Hopefully we see more from the Stress Level Zero team soon, but for now, let's check out some of the mods that are pushing the Marrow engine into some great new directions. The modding scene for this game has blown up since the release. But first, I want to talk about where you can acquire some of these mods, since I didn't really touch on that in the last video. The first place, of course, where you're going to be able to get most mods for both PC and Quest is going to be the mod.io page for Bonelab. This has everything from weapon mods, new vehicles, custom NPCs, and even new maps and campaigns, all made either in the official SDK for the game or the extended one. The other place is from the Thunderstore website, but those are more advanced and PC only mods for the most part, so we'll come back to those later. Throughout this section, I want to highlight a few notable ones that I've used during my revisit of Bonelab. So first, let's check out some weapon mods. There are a ton of great weapon mods out there, ranging from realistic firearms to weapons from entirely different franchises. You got things from like Cyberpunk, Call of Duty, Halo, and the list goes on. But most notably, I wanted to shout out the RexMex weapon and attachment mods. With RexMex weapon packs, you can have fully customizable weapons to trick out whenever you want. And on top of that, a lot of other weapon creators out there are making their mods compatible with RexMex attachment mods. This is definitely a game changer for the weapon mechanics in the game and allows for a bit more customization with your weapons. When it comes to the avatars that are available in the modding scene, you can basically play as anyone you want from any franchise you can think of. It's insane how many avatars were already available at the start and how much it is expanded at this point. I think the most notable one for me though has to be the Atom Smasher avatar from Cyberpunk. This one's actually been around since my last video on this game released, but I never got to check him out until recently. And yeah, this one is a lot of fun to play with.
You look like a cuddle.
And when it comes to the NPCs, there are, again, a ton of NPCs available from many different franchises.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
Mario, Sonic, Rocky NPCs for some reason. Whatever you can think of. The only thing about the NPCs, however, is that they use the bare bones null body NPC that's available from the SDK. So there's really not much that's out there. And yes, there are mods that allow for different Omni projector based enemies that have weapons like the Combine Soldiers. But again, there's not much variation to the NPCs. So most of the time they just stumble around. So until there's updates to the official SDK for this game, there's not much in terms of variety of NPC behavior, but rather skins for NPCs, if that makes sense. I'd love to see NPCs officially improved through updates of this game or even by the next title, just so it's easier for modders to create their own with even more dynamic behaviors. But of course, that'll come with time.
Hello? Hey.
I'm just trying to find my son.
And in terms of vehicles, damn, there is a lot of fun stuff to play around with. You got any range of cars, like supercars, sedans, you got vans, dirt bikes, and hell, even a skateboard. Although with the skateboard, you can't really push it, so it just kind of moves a little bit as you go. Hell, there's even a damn helicopter you can install. And a jet. And then I present to you the Fliggle Giggle. Now, this hover bike is really hard to get used to. I'm not sure if it's another mod that's conflicting with it, but let's just take a look. Yeah, it's pretty vomit-inducing, but once you do get a hang of it, it is extremely fun to fly. I found that not actually getting in the seat and being able to control it with my sticky hands from the SpiderLab mod that I'll touch on a bit later has really helped out.
Much better time controlling this thing without sitting in the seat.
And there's one more category of mods that I wanted to talk about, which covers the different campaigns and even new levels that are available. One of the biggest shoes to fill in all those mod categories is the custom map and campaign section. While there's a lot of great sandbox maps out there, custom campaigns in comparison are a bit more sparse. While there are some great ones already out there to show what can be done with the SDK already, most of them just feel unfinished at the moment, which is understandable. These are usually done by one dev doing this on their free time, but what is out there, even if incomplete, are great additions to a game that lacked a long campaign. Most notably was this custom zombie campaign that still takes place within the Boneworks simulation. While the level was really dark in a lot of spots, it really gave a VR Resident Evil vibe to it and was fantastic to check out. But most importantly, by the mod author Volk64, they're currently developing a mod called Labworks, which is basically a full port of the Boneworks campaign over into the Bonelab engine. And while this is still in early development and only 4 of the levels have made it over so far, what is here is impressively done. And this is going to be an incredible way to revisit the first game with the avatar system from this one. Even though it's unfinished currently, I highly recommend checking it out because it's impressive what's there on display currently. And last but not least, in the mod section, I did want to come back to the Thunderstore website. These mods that I'm going to cover here are mainly made for the PCVR community and are used for extending the capabilities of the engine through scripting mods, which aren't supported yet in the official SDK. There's a ton of great mods to to choose from this website, most being quality of life fixes or cheap mods. However, there's two mods here in particular that I want to cover. The first one, and my personal favorite, is the Bonelab mod. This is basically a Spider-Man mod and allows you to web swing by using a gesture that you assign through the mod settings. The great thing about this too is you can fully adjust the settings for Bonelab, allowing you to have increased strength, and you can change the strength of your web swinging as well. You can also turn on and off wall crawling, which I keep on because it's pretty helpful to get up to hard to reach spots. To be honest, this is probably the closest we'll ever get to a proper Spider-Man game in VR, if Spider-Man were stuck in a random simulation. God damn, it is so fun swinging around each level, pulling enemies towards you to smack them in the face, and just being able to play as Spider-Man and having full control of your web swinging is just amazing. And the final mod that I want to cover in this video is a mod that is pushing the limits of this engine past the point of no return. And what I mean by no return is that this is no longer going to be considered a single player game at this point with the inclusion of this mod. That mod being Bonelab Fusion. Bonelab Fusion has been in development since the release of Bonelab, and it's made from the same devs who worked on the Entanglement mod for Boneworks, which was basically the multiplayer mod for that game. This mod not only adds synced up multiplayer to Bonelab with a full-on dedicated server system, but it also has a matchmaking system with public lobbies that can be started and joined whenever you want. This adds so many different possibilities to the game than it ever had before, making it even more like the Garry's Mod of VR like I mentioned before. This of course can be enabled in the Bone menu, just like the Spider-Man mod, which by the way, the Bone menu has to also be installed from the Thunderstore, and can be used to set up a lobby yourself or even see matchmaking, which is going to show all the currently open and available lobbies to be joined. The great thing too is that you can even make these lobbies private for a chill co-op sesh with the boys, or set it to public if you don't have any friends or just want to make some in the depths of the void. There are also a few game modes you can start on any map as well, so if you're feeling bored after a round of Zombie Warehouse, you can kick off a random deathmatch to see who's king in the server. There's also been maps made and ported over to Bonelab specifically with these game modes in mind. And let me tell you, deathmatch in Bonelab is fucking chaotic, but so damn fun. And on top of that, there's also a couple other things that are added to the game once this mod is installed. That being the Fusion terminal, giving any patch notes from recent updates to the mod, which is a very nice addition. And there's also the bit mark, which can be used to spend bits you get from playing multiplayer on buying accessories for your avatar, and they'll show across different servers. This is a really nice addition just for the fact that you get to add a bit of identity to yourself, even if everyone in the server doesn't have the same avatars installed. You'll still be able to have your own bit of identity. But on the subject of syncing, this is the best multiplayer mod for a single player game I've seen in a very long time, and especially for VR. Everything works just seamlessly with one another. AI spawn accordingly, shots land where you expect them to, and even interactions with other players seem to work just fine.
What is going on?
But if you have a server of more than like 5 people, well, expect the game to not sync up too well. Of course, this is something that's probably gonna get updated over time, but it still works, and damn is it fun to play with. Still though, the fact that this even runs as well as it does is a miracle. And whatever black magic the team was able to do to get this running is just fucking incredible stuff, and you should definitely check this out. But with all these great additions that we've talked about, Bonelab is definitely at the point where it feels like a more complete game. In a weird way, coming back and talking about this game again has almost made it feel like I'm completing my review on this game, if that makes sense. Because like I said before, it feels like a more complete package by this point. If anything, I'm hoping for the next title by Stress Level Zero to be a more complete package on release, by having everything that they've learned from both Boneworks and Bonelab, and not only that, but bringing a more enticing story and official multiplayer support would make their next title feel like a complete Boneworks package. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Are you still playing Bonelab half a year since it's been released? Or did you leave it behind after you played it once or twice? Are you looking forward to what's coming next in the franchise? Let me know down below. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to listen to me ramble. And also, I just wanted to make a quick shout out and thank everyone for so much of the support on the channel lately, and especially for my last few videos. I appreciate the hell out of you. Anyways, I'm out, everybody. I hope you all have a fantastic one. Tato out.